Welcome to Holistic Accountant Podcast, where we aim to showcase how adopting a holistic approach in accounting and tax maximizes value for clients. Beyond traditional tasks like preparing financial statements and tax returns, a holistic accountant focuses on offering advice that maximizes personal wealth on an after-tax basis. If you enjoy this episode, please consider leaving a rating and sharing it with those who might also benefit. And to ensure you stay updated, subscribe to our weekly email. The link is in the show notes. Okay, today, Mena, I would like to talk about outsourcing your financial function. So quite often in business, we like to try and do everything to save on costs and try and make everything as efficient as possible, but it doesn't always make sense to do that. In fact, I would argue it never makes sense to do that. You should really stick to your core business and what you're good at and essentially really outsource everything else. That's both in personal and business life, I guess. But today we wanted to talk about, outsourcing your finance function and really leaning on your holistic accountant to do a lot of that work.
So one of the first reasons why you would outsource your accounting and finance function is because you're scaling or growing your business. So obviously with scale and growth comes increased complexity, so increased need for financial management. You need to be across your creditors, your debtors, and keeping up to date with all your tax complying matters and so forth. And you really need the internal reporting functions down pat so that you can promptly act on certain business and strategic decisions. And then you also would need the expertise. Anyone can really bookkeep to a certain degree, but doesn't really give you the expertise as to what you really need in your business and what avenues you can explore, whether it be software, pricing, budgeting, forecasting, compliance. All these kind of matters you're not going to get with someone that doesn't actually understand your business or they understand the accounting and finance function to its entirety. So it's really important to outsource the function or your accounting function when your business grows so that you can get that expertise and make prompt and timely decisions when you need to.
When we're talking about outsourcing, and probably we should have talked about this at the beginning, but it's really anything related to running your business that is finance related. So this could be things like bookkeeping, reconciling debtors and creditors, completing financial statements, bank reconciliations, really anything, management reports, that's a good one, in terms of giving you a bit of a dashboard or clear picture on how your business is operating. They're the sorts of things that we need to know when we're running a business. That's the key information, I guess, and then who's putting that information together. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about outsourcing. And one of the other benefits is really it's very flexible and cost efficient, very sort of scalable. So if you don't ask your accountant to do all these sorts of things, your holistic accountant, you might have to go and hire a bookkeeper, but do you need them 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week? Who knows? I mean, as your business grows, you probably need them more, of course, but if you go through periods where business is a bit quiet or you get to streamline your accounting function, you might need them a little bit less. Also, there's, as Mena alluded to, there's going to be times where, you need a bit more complex advice. You might have a particular transaction. How are we going to treat this transaction? Well, if your bookkeeper is working, if you've outsourced that and your bookkeeper is working for your accountant and bookkeeper can get together and talk about it. Whereas if you've insourced it so that you've got that bookkeeper working for you, you're the guy that they're going to have to talk to. Plus also it's very scalable. So, if you don't need a lot of help this month, obviously your holistic accountant is going to charge you a whole lot of fees. But if you need a heap of help next month, just because there's been some complexity or a major increase in transactional volume or those sorts of things, well, of course, then your holistic accountant can kind of scale that offering to you. And it's a completely variable cost that you can kind of dial up or down.
And then you get access to tools and tech that you might not otherwise know about or get access to because it's too costly to gain as a sort of an individual business. So outsourcing certain functions to your holistic accountant, they provide you with insight or ability to use certain accounting software tools or analytical systems to provide you with more insight or more efficiencies into your business. As well as there'll be more across the automation, functions that can be automated, within your business. Managing automation through routine tasks such as bookkeeping, invoicing, payroll, for example. These kind of things you might not know as an individual or as a sort of sole operator. So it's really important to utilize the expertise of your holistic accountant to see what you can improve in your business.
In life, for many things, it's what you don't know is the stuff that's going to trip you up, and you don't really know what you don't know. And so sticking to your knitting, sticking to your core business, what you're very good at, obviously is a really efficient use of time. Managing a team and an accounting function is a really difficult thing to do if you don't know the right questions to ask and when to ask them. You'll end up sort of just finding your way, and it's quite risky because, as I said, if I've got a client and they're managing their own bookkeeper, with the greatest of respect, it's like the blind leading the blind. You just got to expect that there's going to be errors, there's going to be problems, and you're going to have to spend a little bit more time on it. Whereas Mena and I, our core job is exactly that. Managing a finance team, managing a bookkeeper, managing integrations with other softwares, making sure that the accountants are doing the right job. And so the benefit of outsourcing is you get to delegate that responsibility and make sure everything is working correctly onto people that are going to have the skills and experience to execute on that much better than you will be able to, and notwithstanding that, more efficiently, right? So you could end up spending 20 hours a week on your finance function, and sure, it's not rocket science, you'll probably nail it. But, if you spend that 20 hours elsewhere in your business, I'm sure you could produce much better value.
And it really mitigates risk when you're outsourcing your finance function. The reason being is there's a lot of tax compliance out there, especially as your business scales. So if you're not across it all, you really put yourself out there for errors, fraud, penalties, and so forth. If you look at the simple process of superannuation payments, now, if those aren't made on a quarterly basis, the ATO are very stringent with the process behind late payments, even if you're 1 day late. These late superannuation payments attract hefty interest plus administrative charges, and then the ATO basically say you can't actually claim a tax deduction for that superannuation contribution, even though you've made it and it could only be a day late. When you're doing these kind of things, it's really important to be on top of the complexities, and when you've got that finance function outsourced, then your holistic accountant is ensuring that you're up to date with all your affairs.
Mena and I talk a lot in this podcast about getting the most amount of value from your accounting function. So, which is distinct from, really just focusing on your compliance obligations, that is preparing a set of financials and a tax return each year, and obviously lodging your quarterly BAS. Now, they're the things that we have to do, but how can we take that information that we already have to produce and turn it into some valuable information? And that's really the key aspect here. And I think we spend so much time doing the compliance stuff that if we just added an extra 10 or 20% of time, we could really dig down into the numbers, produce a dashboard for our clients to better understand their businesses, to help them make better informed decisions, and ultimately maximize the profit, or at least the financial performance of that business. And so by outsourcing, you're really shifting the responsibility to find all those answers onto your holistic accountant. So that is, you can go to them and say, okay, I want to understand what are the key things that I need to understand in my business, what are the key metrics or ratios or these sorts of things. And then once you've determined that, okay, go away and build me a dashboard and report to me on a quarterly basis or something like that. You're really driving that process, but you're delegating the responsibility for the execution onto your holistic accountant.
And it allows you, as Stuart mentioned before, to really manage your costs. So if you're in a business that's seasonal or has sort of one-off needs within your sort of trading cycles, then instead of employing a finance function within your business, which is a sort of a large fixed recurring cost, by engaging a holistic accountant, they can basically do project-based work or attend to basically these temporary surge in workloads and charge just accordingly rather than a recurring high set fee. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of your ability to sort of manage your finances within your business.
So I should really talk about the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room, of course, Mena and I are going to tell people that there's great benefit in outsourcing all your accounting function to us. And of course, I've got to acknowledge we've got a commercial interest of forming that view and communicating that view. So I acknowledge it, but it's something that we truly believe in because we see the good, the bad and the ugly. We see situations where clients try and do it all themselves and completely mess it up and give rise to a bit of time time wasting and more fees and more complexity and more stress. And we see situations where people could be getting sort of much more up-to-date, usable information to help them manage their business better, but they're not willing to sort of make the investment to make that happen. And of course, we've seen the good. We've seen situations where we've worked with clients where we're achieving that better reporting and that more timely reporting, and it's had a dramatic impact on their business, and the business owner has been able to spend their time more wisely. So it's a compounding benefit because they spend their time more wisely, their business grows, we get better and continue to improve that financer function, therefore giving them better information, and it snowballs from there. So I acknowledge we've got a commercial benefit to say this is how we think it should work, but really truly why we're saying it is because that is exactly what we've observed, both on a positive and negative front in terms of the clients that are doing well and the clients are not doing so well. Okay, that is the final episode for 2024. We just want to thank you very much for listening in. If you do enjoy the podcast, certainly leave a rating wherever you listen to it. And if you could help us share it, that'd be fantastic. Mena and I look forward to taking a bit of a break over Christmas, and we'll be back in 2025 with more exciting episodes for the Holistic Accountant podcast. Thanks so much.